update video for Dysautonomia Awareness Month. Recently my health has been not so great. With all the weather changes, I've been in a lot more pain than usual. Minya's been very worried about me recently when I've been in a lot of pain. She won't leave my side. If you've been here for a while, you'll know that I was diagnosed with POTS, which is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which basically means that my heart rate skyrockets whenever I stand up or change positions from sitting or laying down to a more upright position. There's a lot of different types of dysautonomia and POTS is one of them, but that won't be the sole focus of this video, because when you have POTS, you usually have a lot of other health issues as well. And basically, I want to talk about that. So I have a diagnosis for fibromyalgia, POTS, and technically IBS, but I haven't had enough tests done to rule out other conditions. So I would love to get tested for gastroparesis. I would love to know if I actually have EDS. Is that what's causing my fibromyalgia? Is fibromyalgia just a symptom of a larger issue? Is there a genetic problem here? A lot of people who have dysautonomia also have EDS. There's multiple types of EDS, which is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. They're currently in the process of sort of reclassifying things and figuring out a better diagnostic criteria, because the current diagnostic criteria is extremely limiting. The diagnostic criteria relies so much on your ability to do party tricks, such as touching your thumb to your wrist and things like that. Things you probably shouldn't be doing, even if you can. So I can't do those party tricks. The scoring system that they use, it's very flawed because it misses out on a whole bunch of joints in the body. It only picks on a few of them. I suspect I might have hypermobile EDS. Why? Well, let's go back a little bit. My grandma, she could do splits vertically up a wall. That's not normal. She suffered from terrible migraines. She ended up getting Alzheimer's and she passed away a few years ago now. I believe that her migraines were linked to EDS because hypermobility in the body can cause these sorts of issues. If you've got EDS, you might have instability in your joints. And in this scenario, I think she might have had upper cervical instability causing those migraines. And that upper cervical instability can compress the vagus nerve, which research has shown there is a link there with Alzheimer's.
Coincidence? I think not.
Now, my grandma isn't the only one who suffered from terrible migraines. Two of my aunties and my mother all suffer from migraines. And unfortunately, my aunties have gone on to develop dementia and Alzheimer's. Now I think of my immediate family. I think about growing up. My sisters and I were very good at gymnastics and dancing. I used to get chronic headaches as a kid. No one could figure out why. Not only did I have chronic headaches as a kid, I also had a hernia, an unexplained hernia that would go away and come back and then go away again and then come back again. These are things that have been linked with having EDS. I used to sprain my fingers a lot as a kid, and my dad would bandage them together to create a sort of splint. I used to get really bad growing pains in my legs specifically, and I find that my legs and my hips and my feet are the areas that are currently most flexible for me. So my sister, her legs look like they're bending backwards, like they shouldn't bend that way. That is a sign of hypermobility, and that is a sign of EDS. My legs didn't do that, but I could do the splits, which is a sign of EDS. I can no longer do the splits. I'm a lot more stiff in my body now, so I feel like my muscles might potentially be overcompensating for too much movement in my body. I started considering EDS first off when I wrote an article about a day in my life with fibromyalgia, and I got a comment on that article that says maybe you should check for POTS and EDS. So that prompted me to search POTS and look into that, and I did end up getting a POTS diagnosis. But when I looked at EDS, most of the resources I could find put so much emphasis on the hypermobility and being able to bend your body in all sorts of ways that you shouldn't. And I thought, no, that can't be me. But it might be. It might be. For example, I can bend in sorts of ways that other people like me can't, which is not in the current diagnostic criteria for EDS, but I can comfortably sit with my feet planted firmly on the ground in a deep squat position. Now, I know a lot of people all over Asia can do this, but usually people like me would have to train to be able to do this. I've just always been able to do it. And so has my sister and my mum. So I'm starting to think there might be something genetic going on here. And nobody else in my family has been diagnosed or even tested for it. I also feel like I have potentially got a bit of hypermobility in my feet and my ankles. That being said, my sister used to sprain her ankles all the time, which is a sign there might be something underlying going on there. So I'm connecting all these dots, and I'm thinking back to when I originally saw a doctor about all these different health issues I'd been having years and years ago, and he said, it sounds like you've got a lot going on. There were lots of little individual problems rather than symptoms of one bigger problem. But what if he was wrong?
Why haven't I heard about it before? It's a conspiracy, man!
I'm really sorry to say this, but this is the point of me being motivated to make this video. There's a lot of medical professionals out there who just have no clue. I have been completely let down by the medical system. I'm so angry. I feel such a deep rage about this. I'm really angry and I don't show it. In fact, I get comments from people saying like, I'm so chill and calm. But deep down, I'm actually just furious.
Now might be a really good time for you to get angry.
That's my secret, Cat. I'm always angry.
I'm just furious because I can't get the medical help that I need. And that's not for a lack of trying. It really, really bothers me. I can't see local doctors anymore. I don't want to insult their intelligence, but lived experience is telling me they're not intelligent enough. They don't dig deeper, you know?
What are you?
An idiot sandwich.
With such complicated health issues, you have to advocate for yourself or you'll never get any answers, ever. You have to fight for yourself, because a lot of medical professionals will not fight for you. They just tick a box and send you off. Bye, good luck with everything. When I got my colonoscopy and gastroscopy results, the gastroenterologist said, "Oh, everything looks normal. You know what? I'm gonna slap an IBS label on you." I just got labeled with IBS without any further testing being done. They probably should have looked into gastroparesis, which is delayed gastric emptying, which a lot of people with POTS also have. There's just a lot of connections. So how could the gastroenterologist label me with IBS without doing further tests? And I'm not saying I have gastroparesis, but I would like to be tested for it. And so the other day, I went to the local doctor and said, "Can you refer me to get a test for this? I want to know if it's there, if it's a problem or not." But my doctor refused to refer me one. Why? She said there were no indications. I'm permanently bloated. I've said multiple years now I've had trouble getting my bowels moving, which is why I resort to extreme measures like moving an uncomfortable amount, doing a lot of physical activity, or eating chocolate every day to get things moving along. I don't think that's a normal thing to have to do. I have trouble swallowing my pills because I can feel them just coming back up because it feels like there's no room in there for anything else. I have a lot of symptoms that can be associated with gastroparesis, and my doctor, local doctor, said there were no indications to get this test done, and just referred me back to the same gastroenterologist that slapped me with the IBS label in the first place and didn't think to do any further testing. You know what? Sounds like IBS. See ya. And if it was IBS, then why are the so-called management techniques for IBS not working on me? Low FODMAP diet does not work for me. Dieting in general does not work for me. I've tried it. I do seem to have sometimes what I would describe like an allergic reaction to some food sometimes, especially if it's been a while since I've actually consumed that sort of food. I used to have a really bad reaction to oats, but I slowly increased my intake to build up my tolerance, and now I can eat oats again to the point where I'm eating them every day. That might be related to an allergy issue, which could be mast cell activation syndrome, which is directly related with POTS and EDS, and all three of those together are known as what's called the trifecta. The trifecta of conditions: POTS, EDS, mast cell activation syndrome. They occur so commonly together that they have their own name. I wouldn't suspect this for myself for no reason. I've researched this. The other thing, I've had so many pelvic issues. The symptoms were actually in line with endometriosis. So I saw a gynecologist, and then I got a diagnostic laparoscopy to rule it out. In regards to endometrial tissue, nothing was found. So if I don't have endometriosis, but I'm having all of these symptoms, what could it be? I've been told it could be pelvic floor dysfunction. Typically, a woman who has had kids or given birth will be given that diagnosis of pelvic floor dysfunction. I've never had kids or given birth. So what could be the cause? One of the causes is a connective tissue disorder, such as EDS. which I don't have a diagnosis for. But you can see why I'm connecting all these dots. My health issues just keep getting worse and worse, and they're piling on top of each other, and I'm completely overwhelmed. I'm drowning in health issues, and I'm not getting the help that I need. All of my health issues, fibromyalgia, POTS, IBS, they are all indicators that it could be EDS. I wouldn't wish this on anyone. This is a terrible, terrible experience. And if I'm being honest, I have had thoughts a lot recently when I've been in those moments where I'm in excruciating pain. I think, how can I go on like this? I was trying to visualize my life 5-10 years down the track, and I'm thinking, if this is how bad it is now, imagine how bad it could get 5 or 10 years down the line. I need help, and I need help now before things get worse. So I've given up on local doctors. Unfortunately, they're not meeting my medical needs, and I just don't think they're smart enough to deal with my health problems, quite frankly. The medical system is fundamentally flawed. I have to ask for things to get done. I don't walk into a doctor's office and the doctor looks at me and says, "What's wrong with you? Oh, okay, let's do this and this and this, test this and this and this, until we get to the bottom of it and figure it out, because we're gonna figure this out together." No doctor has really ever done that for me. I felt like I had a good doctor when I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and technically he wasn't wrong. I do fit the diagnostic criteria for fibromyalgia, but I'm really starting to think it's just a symptom of a larger problem. I might add that these health issues are common amongst people who are neurodivergent. So people who have either autism or ADHD are more likely to have these particular health issues. I was tested for autism when I was a kid, and they said, "Nah, she doesn't have autism. She's just really smart." Look, things have come a long way since then, and I'd be open to being tested again. I do suspect I might have ADHD, and if I look at my family, definitely looks like ADHD runs in the family. I think I am neurodivergent in some way, but that is yet to be determined, and quite frankly, it's not a super accessible test to get done. It's really expensive, and just not really in the financial position to pursue that yet. Plus, I feel like it's almost the least of my worries. My pain is so bad. It fluctuates, it goes up and down, but lately it's just kind of been fluctuating like this. It's going up and down, but continuously going up the older I get. I need to get stronger. So I've started doing workouts that are aimed to help you get ready for skiing in the wintertime, because that's a form of strength training which is recommended for people with the sorts of health issues that I'm having. Every time I do anything physically demanding, I injure myself, injure my shoulder. I haven't necessarily done anything to injure the shoulder. I've had injuries to my shoulder before from doing nothing in particular, and I couldn't pinpoint a cause. Sometimes when I'm doing a pulling motion with my arms, I feel my joint come loose in my shoulder, like a partial dislocation. I realize that that's known as a subluxation, but that is a symptom of EDS. Every single day, I have to crack my neck to relieve this horrible pressure right at the base of my skull. that, I suspect, might be upper cervical instability, which can be related to headaches and migraines. And we all know that doesn't necessarily end well going into your old age. So I need to get a lot stronger now. I need to strengthen everything in my body. So right now that is my goal, but it's really hard to do without hurting myself. So I'm going to see a physio for my pelvic floor dysfunction. I'll continue doing my workouts at home, but I'll have to be careful about it. And a couple of days ago, I was looking through more of the symptoms of EDS and how it can show up in skin. And a lot of it, I'm like, oh, well, I don't have super stretchy skin. I don't think it's really velvety. I'm not sure if I bruise easily or not, but one of the less common symptoms are these little bumps that show up on your heels, on your feet, when you stand up or put weight on your feet. I didn't realize I had these bumps until a couple of days ago when I looked for them. It's like anything, you know, symptoms vary from person to person. I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes out in December 2026 in this space. I'm really starting to think that there's a lot more going on with me than meets the eye. I just might have an undiagnosed connective tissue disorder, and it might run in my family. I have found a new doctor now, and I'm not sure if they're any good. Watch this space, I suppose. It's just gonna take a long time to get to the bottom of what's happening with me and my health issues. I know that. I'm gonna have to be patient. But that's really hard to do when you've been living with these issues. I might have been living with these issues all my life. And I have lived experience with these issues. And that's why I need to listen to myself, because this lived experience is far more valuable than any medical degree. You cannot argue with that. With all that being said, I think I'm done here. And I'd like to say goodbye now, because I'm getting sore from sitting in the same position for too long. Subscribe!